You said we couldn't talk.
Well, I'm just making a joke about Keenan's thought police stuff. Save it, save it,
Oh,
save it.
Keenan can read my thoughts now. He already
Ruh-roh.
knows. It's too late.
Do you
He's
guys want to?
coming.
Do you guys want to do your Resident Evil thing before he gets here? Because he doesn't have anything to say about it.
Uh, what do I have to say about it anymore? I've said everything there is to say. I didn't play any more of it. I haven't played those DLCs, the free DLCs.
I started one, but didn't like. I tried it once just to see what was different.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really get that far because didn't like. I wasn't really into it. I was just like, "What's the deal with this?"
I read about them. Like I know some of the things. Like there's different scenarios where you use like different characters that aren't in the game, and they start with different items, and then like there's zombies that have backpacks that will, if you kill them, you can pick stuff items out of the backpack.
Yeah.
And then there's like also
Vending
like
machine
these
type
vending
things.
machines that you can
Yeah.
select certain. So there's some variability in the items you can get.
Yeah.
But it's still the same. Like throw tons and tons and tons of zombies at you that you can't possibly deal with, and
Yeah.
the game doesn't really equip you properly to deal with. And it's still the same old like try your luck, like shoot a zombie in the knee and then hopefully run past them. Like it
Yeah.
just I don't like the lack of control that Resident Evil 2 remake sort of gives you. It
Yeah.
just feels like there's just if they slightly changed how a little more consistency in terms of how the zombies reacted and then what kind of damage they took, it would be a much much better game. Like that small change for me would make the game totally different. And I already talked about it. It's the same thing. Like
Yeah.
I can bang my head against the wall. Those things. Like I don't know if you tried Fourth Survivor, that one where you start as Hunk.
Not yet. No.
That one's super super hard, and that's where I ran into the
That's where you
issue in the
check
first
out.
place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I doubt they'll ever change it unless they have plans for a major paid content patch where that will not be as much of a factor. I don't think I'm going back. So
That's fair.
which is too
I
bad.
said before, like my big thing is like every run is exactly the same. Like there isn't anything different really.
Mm-hmm.
Like I gotta find the 3 medallions, then I gotta find the chess pieces, then I gotta, and it's all exactly the same. So
Mm-hmm.
on my 4th run now, I want to put a bullet in my head because I'm just like, oh my god, I've done this. I've done this. I already know where everything is.
Right.
So it's not, and you're kind of already expecting things. And I did have one funny thing the other night where the tyrant pretty much parked outside of the safe room that I was in,
Yeah.
and I waited 10 minutes for him to go away before I
Oh.
continued playing. So I literally just picked up my iPad, started playing something else for 10 minutes while I waited for him to go away.
That's ridiculous, though.
It was. But it was funny because it was the dark room. So every now and then,
Right.
when I thought he'd gone away, I'd like peek my head out and he's like just standing there at the bottom of the stairs. I'm like,
Great.
Great. Back in the room I go, wait another couple of minutes, try it again.
See, and that's like also like it's interesting that like the flaws that you see in a game after you play it more than once, right? Where you play it enough times where you start to see the seams.
Yeah.
And that's a big seam. It's like, well, you know what? Maybe find a way to have the timer be able to get you in there.
Yeah.
Or something, right? Like or just not have that situation happen where he's just going to wait outside forever.
Yeah.
Alien Isolation did that kind of stuff too, where like I think like I was starting to you sneak around in that game because there's an alien chasing you from the movie Aliens, and I hid in a locker and I waited and it seemed like it was going away, and then no, it came back, and then no, it just happened to find me and kill me, and they're just like it's very like your strategy to deal with it is very one dimensional. And you just get lucky. You're just like, oh, he got me. I guess I'm dead. And it's just like, okay, well, that seems to be not designed
broken.
very well.
Yeah, it's broken.
Right? I can't tell where he is. I just hear it, and then I just gotta wait and see if I get killed or not. And I won't know for a few minutes. So it's just that, yeah, that type of design is a little bit. I mean, I like how he doesn't seem to, as far as I'm aware, people have figured out that he actually walks around.
Yeah, he does.
And he's not teleporting around and stuff. Like, he's literally walking around, which is cool.
Yeah, I still think he's cool, except for last night when I'm like, oh my god, just get out of here. I want to get a move on, right?
I feel like there could have been even more with that mechanic, right? Like, it's cool, like, do something with Tyrant, but maybe they'll do it with Nemesis and if they do a 3 remake. But, like, have other ways to, like, track him. Like, things you set up. Maybe there's video cameras, and then you run by the video monitor room. You duck in there for a sec, check all the monitors really quickly, and find out that he's over here. So you're gonna go and do something far away from him.
Yeah.
There's this horror game that's a roguelike, first-person horror game where you're on a ship. I can't remember the name of it. I haven't played it, but I was interested in it, so I was watching people play to see how cool it was, or if it was worth buying. And whenever you start a game up, you start on the deck of this massive ship, and you're trying to find a way off. And there's like, I don't know, 4 different ways you can get off, and you need to find random parts for different ways, like items that you need to like start the life raft or start the helicopter, fix the engine, blah blah blah. And then there's like 3 different monsters that can spawn, and they're all different in how they behave and how they act. And the goal is to basically not get killed by these things. And they're moving around the ship the whole time, and so they're hunting you, but the way they behave seems to be a little more like predictable to some degree. So it's like this scary game of Pac-Man almost. Like you're really like these things. One of them can burn through walls. One of them can like they have all different behaviors they do, and it's pretty frightening. But
I would
that
like to
kind
know
of
what
thing would
game
be.
this is.
What's that?
I would like to know what game this is.
I'll figure it out. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Scary Monstrum.
Oh.
Scary monsters.
No, Monstrum. Monstrum.
Okay.
Pretty highly rated. But yeah, kind of like that. It'd be cool if they did that for 3. I'd be into that. Make it even more of a mechanic, right?
I'd be floored if they didn't redo 3, because at this point it's just money, right?
I feel like they're gonna do it. Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
be cool. Like we'll see.
just
But now
need
I'm
someone to
leery
redo
about it,
Dead
right?
Space.
I don't want them to do. Yeah, Dead Space would be cool, but I don't want them to make the same mistake because that would piss me off. Like I want there to be, I don't know.
Does it seem like anybody's having any issues with it other than
It's like
Osco?
if you go, what's that? Other than what?
Other than us? Because I have the same issue. I'm not happy with it, but it seems like everybody else loves this, right?
It's like 1 out of 10 people. It feels like 1 out of 10 people that have played it are turned off by that, and the other 9 out of 10 are like, great. And I
would argue probably a bunch of people would probably just play it through once or twice and not necessarily 4 consecutive playthroughs right in a row.
And they wouldn't notice that either. They wouldn't play it and be like, yeah, this was awesome, and then they're done, right? They're not seeing that part of it.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I planned on playing it a lot, so of course it's going to be something that I would. But there was threads on the adaptive difficulty thing, like pretty much right away, and there were people that disliked it quite a bit. But yeah, the thread on Resetera is still going strong. Tons of people playing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Doing all the runs, doing all the like everything. But yeah, not for me. Maybe we'll see. Maybe they'll add some cool stuff. I think it's still a good game. It's an 8 out of 10, but it should have been a 10 out of 10 for me.
Now, did you go back and do the stuff for Resident Evil 7, like the one before it? Mm-hmm. Did you play all the?
Well, I played the hell out of that because
I had to.
I had
to.
Well,
you had to, but I mean, like afterwards when they released
I played some
the
of
other
it.
stuff.
Some of it. Yeah, I borrowed it because I sold my copy before I played it on VR and had a VR. So my brother had a copy and I borrowed it for a little while, but then he wanted it back. So I played Chris's DLC, which was really cool.
Yeah,
and I mean that game. I'll play anything in VR in that game. Like I don't care. But I haven't played the other ones actually. I haven't played the what's her name's DLC. There was 2 paid ones, I think.
Yeah, I only played Chris's.
Yeah, Chris's is cool. I didn't play the other ones though. So
me neither.
I hope they make a first-person VR Resident Evil 8 because I'll be totally on board with that. Totally on board. Make it VR again.
Bleh.
Oh my god.
I'm so not into VR. Not even a little bit. I can't.
It's because you don't have a headset.
Some random person who was, I don't know, I was watching some streamer on Twitch, and then people were talking about the streamer was like, oh, I don't get this VR thing. Is there anything actually good for it? And I was like, yeah, there is. It's all on PS4. And then some other dude is like, friggin' Resident Evil 7 was the craziest shit I've ever played. And I was like, yep, it is. It's insane. It's one of the craziest things I've ever experienced in my life, playing that game in VR. So like, I think, yeah, that's, some people are, especially people who play just on PC and don't have a PS4, they're like, oh, there's VR stuff on PC, but they don't understand that like a lot of the really good shit is on PS4. So
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but
What?
We can kind of just that all the good stuff is out on PS4. I think Keenan's got an Oculus, and I'd like to wait for him to kind of chime in on that one.
Yeah, true. Maybe he knows about some more stuff.
Know how it is.
Well, let's hear it then. Did you hear Tim's hot take?
Well, PS4 has been picking a lot of the exclusives, like a lot of the cross-platform stuff. Like, it's always going to be better on Oculus. It's always going to look and feel better with the controllers. So, like, that's the argument I'll make for that stuff. But
sure, I agree with that.
Like, as far as overall experience, you have more options on the PlayStation because they have a bigger install base, and I think that's where everybody releases first, and then it normally leaches onto other like the other headsets, so like the Vive and the Oculus Rift. So
I think Beat Saber is the exception. Like, that was on PC first, and I think PC is a superior version of that. But yeah,
but I mean, like Super Hot, all those things that came out on PC first, like they're not things that there were things that were adapted for the PSVR. Anything where you have to do a little bit more movement, then usually it's probably going to be a better bet for you to play on Oculus or
yeah,
Vive.
totally. I don't know if even Super Hot is different on PC VR, or if it's still the same kind of like constrained movement thing. I wonder if it's actually different.
What do you mean? Like, you're in an area, you can move up, like move around a bit more, and you can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because in PS4, you're in one spot. You're not moving around. You're dodging and you're on the spot basically.
Okay. Well, you're not in those ones.
Oh, they're way better then.
I wouldn't say way better. Like, you're not hopping around an entire level, but like it's its own thing. Right?
I feel like that could have been not that difficult to do on PSVR. Given, I think it's just that they were experimenting with it. Maybe, I don't know why. Anyway,
you run into all kinds of problems.
The Move controllers, I guess, were the limitation.
You run into all kinds of problems because your body will end up blocking the controls a lot of times because you
yeah, for sure.
Sensor on the PlayStation. So,
but
anyway, you're way too technical for that stuff.
It's the Move controllers that are the main problem, I think. But no analogs on them.
Yeah, but if you want to just like have a headset and like go around in a place, then like the PSVR is good. If you want presence, like actually feeling that you're in an area, the Oculus offers something, or Oculus Rift offers something a little bit more than that. So
sure,
I understand. I don't know what experience Jackie has had so far, but like it's all about removal of barriers, and they always talk about that, especially in the beginning days of VR, of removing the feeling that you are holding a controller and putting you into the game, and that's what they're attempting to do as they move forward.
So that's my problem. Because my whole thing is first person stuff straight up makes me barf. Like Mirror's Edge, played it for 5 to 10 minutes, barfed everywhere. So I can't do that stuff. Like, it makes me really motion sick and I don't like it. So I know I tried it briefly at Chris's house. Like, I think it was the Astrobot stuff, like not the recent one, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
the demo one. Yeah. So, and it was cool, but I'm like, I don't think I could play for more than a few minutes without wanting to barf everywhere. Like, it's just not how my brain works.
You develop your legs.
You develop a little bit of tolerance.
You get your sea legs.
Yeah.
Maybe, but like motion sick is something that like legit is an issue for me.
And Jackie, I would say also the people who are most sensitive have also said the same thing about PSVR, but they've said different about Oculus and Rift because of the refresh rate and how quickly it updates. So there's less, like, the general consensus is a lot of the time that comes down to lag between what your brain is expecting to happen and what you're actually seeing, and that's where that's coming from. So I wouldn't give up on it yet, but yeah, maybe it needs to mature a little bit more before you'll feel comfortable putting it on again. You might feel
Maybe.
better on some of the other ones.
Maybe, but I mean, like that steers me away from certain games. Period. Like Resident Evil 7, I didn't play. I watched Austin play, and whenever it was starting to get to me, I'd play on my iPad or do something different for a bit. Yeah. So like, I don't know. It's not.
Resident Evil was a total vomit fest.
Was it?
You have to get used to it a little bit, yeah.
It was god awful. Like even like being somewhat used to different experiences, like Resident Evil, especially when you get close up to walls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like
it feels weird.
that one night that Tim and
Yeah.
we were playing, like it was hilarious. Both of us just
That good.
But like,
eh?
it won't
trying
happen
to trigger
anymore, though. For us. Like, for
Yeah,
the
you were
viewers, it
looking
wouldn't
for
happen.
that too. You
But,
remember
yeah,
that,
the DM.
that game that you came over to my house where you're like piloting like a
yeah, man, that was great.
you're like piloting like this Blade Runner type hover car thing, and you can make it do all kinds of like spins and like sorry, it's like tilting basically, right? A hover car, and so you're feeling the tilt, but your brain isn't registering that movement at all, so it's really disorienting.
That sounds awful.
I found Wipeout to be actually not bad for that, because you're inside a car. Yeah, so
Wipeout wasn't bad. Whereas Trackmania is a nightmare to play.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, you go off a ramp and the car's spinning around, and you just this is too much. I found
you don't have control. Like there's a bunch of roller coaster simulators that those will make you feel really bad too.
what's that dance game? Bound? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Bound.
Yeah.
That game was nasty on VR too.
A dance
Both?
game?
Yeah,
No,
you
it's
don't
like
dance. It's a platformer, but it's
Artsy.
yeah.
The two times it happened to me were, one, I was playing Doom and I put the controls on like normal FPS shooter modes with the controller, so I could move the camera around with my right thumb. Big mistake. 10 minutes in, friggin' this horrible squeezing feeling in my abdomen first, and then just kind of slowly moving up. And I was tired after that. And then the other time it happened was when I took off the in Resident Evil 7, I took off the click view thing.
Yep.
And tried to do it smooth. And I was playing the Chris's DLC that way for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, same thing. I'm like, oh, god damn it.
It's a total
I
nightmare.
just feel it just start to creep up, and I had to take a break, and I didn't go back to it.
I was gonna say none of this sounds good. This is not selling it.
So
Yeah.
there's reasons why they put those guides in there, like where
it's not there yet, eh?
you have to use those options, unless you have an iron stomach.
Like I said, if you come over, Jackie, you can try Oculus, see whether that's any better for you. But yeah, I mean they're conscious of it, and they're always trying to keep that in mind, because like obviously they don't want people blowing chunks all over their VR headsets.
Well, and it's weird though, because like I can go on spinny rides, I can go on roller coasters, all of that stuff's fine. You sit me down in front of water, or you sit me down in front of like a first person experience, and I want to vomit everywhere. So I don't know.
What about 3D movies?
They bug my eyes, but they don't make me sick.
What about 3D vomit?
Blah. Barf everywhere.
Did anything come out this week? Anything significant?
A lot came out this week. A lot of surprise launches came out this week.
Okay, like what? What'd you play?
So it was Apex Legends came out.
Oh yeah.
Game's super hot. Like it's like burning up the charts for everything with concurrent users and stuff. And boy, like the LGBTQ community is all behind that thing too, because of the way that they've done the characters and stuff. It's just pretty amazing. It's a great story right now. So Tim and I both love Titanfall, so we've been trying to get into it. It's got a lot of the fun running mechanics of Titanfall without so much of the
wall running.
No Titans, and there's only one guy that has a grapple, but like it's still got the tight shooting, the like movement,
Sliding. Yep.
the sliding. Yeah.
Is it a hero shooter?
Well, no. I mean, they would
sort of. They're heroes.
They've specifically said they're not heroes. So
Oh well.
Okay, but whether they say they are or not, like, does it play like Overwatch? Is what I'm asking. You have different characters who are like named people.
Yeah, they have
but
abilities.
not in the way that Overwatch has class systems. Like they have basically unique abilities for all of them. It's more like I would make it more akin to something like Rainbow Siege, where you have Rainbow Six Siege, where like you do have different loadouts, but that doesn't make the characters like being able to jump higher or like take more damage and stuff. Unlike in Overwatch, where there's actual attributes that are different for each person.
Yeah, there's like one ultimate ability for each of them. There's one passive kind of ability you can do, and sometimes they'll have another passive like. If someone's looking at you, you get an indicator, like you can tell for one of the characters and weird shit like that. Or one character tracks blood, but they're all using the same guns. There's no It's all the equipment is the same for everybody, for whatever you find.
And it's not 1 versus 100. It's all three teams of 3.
Yeah.
There's resurrections involved in it, so you can help your person when they're down. You can also take their flag and bring it back to a respawn machine as well. So
there's a shield mechanic. Even when you're downed, you're not dead yet. You can shield yourself while you're backing up and get to a better spot.
If the enemy's trying to finish you off, you can also basically get downed, and then the enemy can walk up to you and finish you off. But if they're in the middle of finishing off animation and one of your buddies comes in time and kills them before they can finish the animation or shoots them down, then they can resurrect you before you're killed. So there's a whole bunch of interrupts, things like that, things that are team moments in that game that make it a lot more unique.
But the call-out system is really cool too, Keenan. I don't know if you're gonna...
Yeah, so you can also there's context sensitive call out system. So a lot of people don't actually need to talk in that game. You just point in a direction. You can double tap the call outs, and then that'll tell them that there's an enemy in that position. You can look at a particular item and then hit that call out button, and then it basically tells your whole team members what that item is, that it's over there, and it pings it on their map so they can go get it. So there's a lot of teams that don't actually talk with each other. They've made a lot of context sensitive items available just with that call out. So I don't know. It's a very interesting shooter that's different than like something like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds or Fortnite. It's in its own unique space right now. So there's that, and then speaking of battle royales, the other big one was from the Nintendo Direct, right?
Tetris 99.
Your game of the year.
So what has been? I think all 4 of us have played Tetris 99. Is that right?
Yep.
So why don't we do a quick go through of kind of your experience with it so far, your successes with it so far, this kind of thing?
I mean, I only played it yesterday for a little bit, and already I could feel the pull. Like, I like the fact that
your story starts before that, because you were very resistant first.
Well, yeah, that's true. Like, for me, I mean, even though I like Tetris, I liked it a little more since Tetris Effect came out. Before that, I was kind of like, yeah, I think I understand Tetris. It's Tetris, that whole, like, I've played this before. But, I mean, there's a lot of mechanics I didn't realize existed, which is really cool. And I just found out about a lot of those yesterday, including things like T-spins and stuff like that. There's deeper mechanics that I knew about, and they're actually taken into account in the new one, so you get rewarded for that kind of stuff. So I like that kind of stuff, right? I like mechanics of games, and just finding out that existed was kind of neat. And I don't know, so that was cool. And then I actually played a few rounds of it, and it got pretty high up. Like, I think I got second place. I mean, there's a lot of luck involved too, right? Like, depends who you're playing against.
We start that conversation, hey Jackie?
Yeah, sure. I mean, whatever you guys got to tell yourselves.
Well, how many times have you won?
I've only ever gotten second, but I got it.
And how many times do you get second?
I've had quite a few, and honestly, after whatever day it was that we were talking about it, where I'm like, I love this game, I hate this game. I think I've tried it one other night, and I did 2 or 3 rounds, and I haven't touched it since because it's too easy to pull me away from the other stuff I gotta do right now. So I gotta keep working on Resident Evil. I don't have time for Tetris, but I really like it. I could very easily spend hours, I think, playing it. Austin liked it too.
Have you figured out why it's got this ability to pull you in so quickly?
Because I'm a meanly competitive person, and it's like I don't have to spend a ton of time doing it either. Like some of the rounds are pretty quick, even if you're getting really high ranked. You're not there playing one game all night, right? And like I said, I'm meanly competitive. So far in this house, I've got the highest rank, and if I don't keep that, I'll just burn the house down, right? Like that's how it's gonna go, I think. But no, I like it, and
you should mention that you're selling your house, so that might not.
No. Keep that out. No, but it's one of those things where, like, I like Tetris because it's approachable for everybody, right? And anybody can play it. Not everybody can be good at it, but everybody can play it. And because I can play it better than everybody else in the house, I don't know. I like it a little bit more, I guess. But I enjoy it, but I wish there was still a way where I didn't have to have 2 switches for Austin and I to play it at the same time. If that makes sense. Because it would be fun to compete in the same room as him, like, and see who ranks better, right?
You know, if only there was a game that came out where you could compete directly against someone else in Tetris.
Don't be like that. Puyo still has like a spot on the shelf. I can see it from where I'm sitting right now. But
speaking of which,
yeah.
Pardon?
So we had a get together yesterday. And we spent quite a bit of time playing Tetris 99, having our friends Chris Benoit and Tim try it out for the first time, and they got super pulled into it. And then we were just taking turns trying to basically get number one, and it was addictive enough because we just like one person would be down and then somebody else would come up and do it. And I think Chris, you mentioned it too, that you noticed that there seems to be built into the interface for them to include new modes in the future, right?
Seems like it.
Yeah, so they might include something like that in the future, Jackie. Or what I'm hoping, maybe they'll even allow you to do team play. That'd be something else. So yeah, like team battle royale for it. So
like how few people? You mean like say if you had like 4 people local versus 4 people local? Like that'd be the most fun thing in the world, but it would never happen.
Yeah.
Or like teams of 2 against like everybody else teams of 2 on the online sort of thing, right? So it's like a team of 2. That'd
be fun.
So after we got kind of our kicks in that, somebody had the bright idea of us playing Puyo Puyo Tetris, since we had 4 people playing.
So good.
We started playing individual, and then I picked Puyo Puyo, and everybody else picked Tetris, and that wasn't fair for everybody. So because that game's not balanced in that way.
No.
And then we went Tetris for everybody, and then that was we played how many hours of team play?
We could have just done that the whole day. If I feel like if we would have figured that out earlier on, we would have just played that.
At the same time, I'm glad that we got a little bit of time with Smash Brothers. I would have liked to have put a little bit more serious time into it instead of kid time.
Yeah, exactly.
But still good.
We spent about 2.5 hours playing that.
It felt like way less. Totally.
That's
crazy.
Great, though.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat again. The multiplayer team-based Tetris is good.
Tetris 99's for free thing that came with your Nintendo subscription.
It's pretty nuts. Really.
It's now going to be possibly a 3rd Tetris game in our Game of the Year for the last 3 years.
How messed up is that?
Super interesting.
Game of the Year 2018 Tetris. Game of the Year 2019 Tetris.
Well, 2017 was Puyo, right?
I guess so. I thought it was older than that, but I guess not.
No. Anybody else play anything else this week?
Not really. I'm still playing frigging the same puzzle in Temetsi that I was last week. So there's that. About it.
It's lots of fun. I spent quite a bit of time playing video games this week. Kind of going back and hitting the backlog a little bit, you know. I started and ended up finishing Xanadu Next. Oh no, I think I said that last week that I had just started it, right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I finished it a couple days ago.
Okay, I'm very interested.
Had you played it?
I picked it up and I played through like maybe 7, 8 hours of it.
Yeah, so I mean, you get the vibe of what it is.
The vibe of it, yeah.
I mean, it's like a. Ken and I were joking about Alundra being your game, and I mean, it's like a cleaner Alundra, right? Like it's Falcom action RPG, and it's exactly that's it. That's what it is. Like it's not fantastic. It's not like it's great. It's exactly what you'd expect it to be, right? The final castle is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, like hard.
Hard in that keeping track of where you are and like working traversal is very, very difficult. It's insane. I haven't seen a castle like that in a long time.
Cool. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, and it's not that it's just ridiculous and you get lost like a maze. Like it's huge with multiple levels and you're trying to figure out where you're going and it makes sense, but trying to keep track of kind of which hallway goes where and what leads to what place. It's super daunting, but I never felt like it was unfair or like a pain in the butt, you know? So it was really cool to kind of cap off a game that I really enjoyed with something like that. So that's Xanadu Next, I would highly recommend. Yeah, for sure. I'm going to read off a couple of games that I played for a little bit and they were fine, whatever. Weapon Shop Fantasy was not as good as I hoped it would be. Strikey Sisters, we talked about that before, right?
Yeah. I picked it up too. Played it very briefly though.
Yeah, and it was okay, but it just came out on Switch this week. And that got me thinking about the developer. And so I had two other games by
something. I have both.
DYA games.
Yep.
Super Star Path and Bot Vice.
Yep.
They're both fine.
Yeah.
I can't really recommend either. Super Star Path is kind of interesting. It's kind of like a Gradius thing mixed, or like a top-down shooter though, not horizontal.
Yeah.
But there's some kind of puzzle element to it.
It's almost, you know what it reminds me of in a weird way? It reminds me of Mr. Driller, sort of.
Yeah, I can see
you
that.
Get killed by the blocks and they slowly move from one end to the other.
Yeah, I can see that.
Sort of, you know what I mean?
But it's okay. Like the idea is great, but it's fine.
The implementation's just okay.
I have no idea where I got it, but I played a game called Turbo Pug DX for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
It's a piece of shit.
Okay. Turbo Pug DX.
Yeah. I have no idea where I got it. It's just something on this. I play The Messenger.
Yeah.
Where'd
you get that, on Switch?
No, I had it on
whatever. It's free on Twitch. Yeah.
I got it from Twitch.
Oh.
So tell me, there's supposed to be some big trick with this thing, right?
Yeah, sort of, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. So spoilers for Messenger, I guess.
Yeah.
I played for a few hours.
Right.
And it seemed like a straightforward, just a point A to point B. And then you get to a point in the game and it turns into like Metroidvania. Does it turn into something else after that?
I don't think so, but I didn't beat it, so I have no idea. It seemed pretty boring to me.
Not a lot to it.
No. And the music does aggravate. Like, I do not like the music in that game.
The music didn't bother me. It was very just, this is a game. and the humor was terrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The humor was
Turned
awful.
me off. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's like they hit the marks for the thing they were trying to do, and that's all.
Yeah,
There's
it
no
was
other exceptional aspect to it.
it was fine. I mean, it was fun to play. I thought that it played very, very cleanly, which I
Sure.
appreciated.
hmm
But it just there's not really any reason to play it. It's just
You can imagine the game by hearing the concept, and then you will experience.
Well, in total ripoff of Ninja Gaiden, like the main
Yeah.
character looks like he jumps the same, he swings his sword the same. Like it
Yeah.
just it felt so just uninspired.
Yeah,
so I would-
that's a perfect word for it.
Surprised to see it on like a bunch of like best game of the year stuff because it was not.
Nostalgia. Yeah, people are.
I guess people are suckers that way.
Mhm.
I got a game from the library and I wish that I didn't. Played it for like 10 minutes and I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever played. It's awful. Keenan, probably you're the one with the best chance of playing Shining Resonance Refrain.
Shining Resonance Refrain?
Yeah.
Part of the Shining series?
No. It's like a Sega developed thing. It's just like
Yeah, it's part of the Shining series. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, like they've now branched it off from the strategy game stuff from a long time ago. Now it's just a vehicle for Tony Taka to release more character designs that they can sell characters for. Basically,
it's awful.
You have a tolerance for this stuff apparently still, because I would look at that and right away just be like, no.
No, I don't. And I think that I was like, I think maybe I had heard that it was decent from somewhere. And so despite the anime thing, I was like, oh, maybe I'll give it a shot. And so got it from the library and it's free, so whatever. And I couldn't do it. Like the game I played for because they do the story and because it's an RPG, it takes a little while to get going. And then when I actually got to like the action part, I played maybe 10 minutes and I was like, I can't do this. And the game itself, I'm sure is, fine. But the aesthetic was, you hit it exactly. Like my tolerance for this is 0. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like they've pretty much taken what was like their Fire Emblem equivalent, Shining Force, and turned it into it's just a name and marketing now for it. So
that's what Fire Emblem proper is turning into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's true. They're kind of resonating with each other in the waifu category, I guess.
Awful. And then I started a game today, and I'll probably play it to completion because I like it quite a bit. I finally started Ori and the Blind Forest. It's good. That's it.
I heard it's hard though. I think that's right up your alley because I heard it's hard.
It's not overly difficult, but I can see why people would say that. Like people say the same thing about that bug game. What's it called?
Yeah, Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight, and I didn't find Hollow Knight that difficult. Like
speaking of Hollow Knight, they just announced the sequel too, right?
Yeah,
which is cool.
Like yes, difficult, but I don't think it's it's not impossible. It's not like what's that? Volgar the Viking. It's not like that hard,
Oh yeah, I remember you showing that to me. That seemed like
the game's hard as shit. Where Ori and the Blind Forest, like it's fine, it's good, like it's a time filler, Sure. But it's the same thing, like where the Messenger is just completely mediocre in every way. Like this is, it's slightly better, but it's ultimately the same thing as the Messenger, right? I think the Metroidvania thing, and I don't know whether it's for everybody or just for me, but I'm getting kind of bored of the formula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really hard to do it very well, and I think you need to be able to do it very well to make something worth playing.
Well, maybe even hard to make it different. Like it's not even much that I want it polished. I just want something that's not exactly the same as every other game.
Yep. Something that came close to that for me was close to it, but again failed to do it. Was that that one Metroid, that one that's very much like Metroid with all the glitches and stuff? What's it called? Starts with an A. Came out like a couple. Axiom Verge. Yeah, I felt like for like a good 75% of the game, it was like really cool, and then the bosses were the crappy part of that game. And the last boss even was also just really boring and not difficult, not interesting, and it just kind of ended too, like abruptly, and that was a bit of a failure for me. The last good Metroidvania I played was La Milana 2, which I know that I had big problems with that, but it'd be awesome to play now that it's been properly like translated without problems with the puzzles. It would be really good to play. I like highly recommend that.
I think it's just that genre has so many options available for you. It's just like mediocre doesn't cut it for anybody anymore. It's like why play something mediocre when there's just so many that are at least like, they might not be like the best game ever, but they're like at least like something special, right? There's enough special ones of those out there right now.
Yeah,
mediocre doesn't cut it anymore, right?
No.
It's just like you back in the day, you don't play every single 3D platform. You only played like the ones that are actually any good. Like you would only play things like Spyro, Mario 64, and maybe Jax or one of those things, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say before you give up a Metroidvania, take a crack at La Milana 2 for sure. It's if you have the time.
It's boring.
You didn't play it long enough.
I played it for like 20 hours.
You played the first one.
Yeah.
Good. So you beat the whole first one. Right?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I got close.
Damn.
I just couldn't be bothered with it because it's boring.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
There you go.
So Jackie, did you finish Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, I rolled credits on it. I got the good end. I was telling Chris, I unlocked the best kid hack ever. Because I've got I'm over leveled at this point. So I just kind of hand him the controller and he runs around and grinds levels and items and stuff for me. It's great. I'm a pretty big fan. But yeah, like there's still stuff to do. Like I could tidy it up a little bit, but I'm not super into it. And the stuff that's left, like Bruce and I will actually play together and find some stuff and tidy up some of that stuff together, but it's fine. Apparently there's going to be some DLC with it. We'll see. But I'm not like super excited to boot it up again and play again because it's done. It's fine. It's whatever.
So did the story all come together finally?
No. Never. And the secret ending was like same as all the other secret endings where you're just like, what is going okay.
Are they back on the island holding hands again and like stuff like that? Like, is it?
No. I mean, spoilers for Kingdom Hearts, I guess. He like almost lands in like a real world with like a city and stuff, and it doesn't make any sense. And it's like, okay. General consensus amongst fans they think that the next one, because there will be another one, there always going to be another one, is going to be more Final Fantasy driven as opposed to Disney driven. Like this one had I think I complained about this last time. The only Final Fantasy characters in the entire thing were the Moogles. That's it.
Really?
Yep. Nothing else.
Wow, that's shocking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you were saying last time that you said something along the lines of like, I don't know why they stuck with Final Fantasy because there's other properties that Square could pull into it. And I didn't think about it at the time, but in some of the other games they did. Like they pulled in characters from The World Ends With You, I think was what the other property that they pulled. But either way, there was nothing Square. It was all just Disney. So it's fine. It's fine. I'm over it.
I feel like the only real way to explain Kingdom Hearts is like a Jacob's Ladder situation where like some kid's super interested in Disney and Final Fantasy stuff, and it's like he's in the process of dying, and all the stuff that happens in all the games is just all in his head.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, it's him like dying in a room.
Because like I've been listening, like I'm a big fan of Waypoint, and they've been doing a whole like lore review of different games, and they've been doing Kingdom Hearts and taking it super seriously, going through every game and stuff. And they're on part 3 of Question Mark because they're not sure how many it's going to be. And pretty crazy, messed up story with people's souls like splitting off and
Yep.
stuff. Like I'm like, what the hell? It's like
Yeah.
it's
no.
like Nier written by somebody who's not able to write properly.
No, I would agree with that. Like as a fan, I would agree with that, right? Well, and the fact that we're at Kingdom Hearts 3, but it's like the 11th game, and it opened up to like Kingdom Hearts 2.95 or some bullshit, or 2.98 or some bullshit. Yeah, I don't know. But it is what it is.
You know what?
Maybe it's a situation where like the writer's trying to write themselves into a corner and then trying to figure out how to get themselves out of the corner over and over and over again.
Part of me
But
just
it's
thinks like
not
they've always written the last one like there's no way we're ever gonna make I guess we're making another game that's still making money. Shit, okay. How about we do this time? Oh god, it's still selling. I guess we have to keep making more. Yeah, it's just
doesn't
weird.
really make sense to me is like if you just play the core games 1, 2, and 3, like there's no way it doesn't sound like there's any way you'll ever understand the story. Like you actively have to play all those side games. So they actually were like trying to market like those things and try and sell like more copies by making them like the actual connecting ties between stuff and explaining things by making you have to buy the GBA one, the DS one, the 3DS one.
I don't know. Like I haven't played all of them. I've played, 1 and 2 a billion times, and I've played a couple of the other ones, or at least tried to play them a handful of times. But like I think even if you played them all, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like it's not a good story. But it's fun and it's vibrant and it hits what I need it to hit. But like I've never been in it for the story. How about that?
That's all I wanted to hear.
You even had the Final Fantasy characters that you were also in it for, right?
Well, yeah, and like I said, I'm bummed out about that because those were some fun like boss battles and things like that in the other games, and nothing. And like and this one I feel like was Kingdom Hearts Super Baby Mode, right? Like it wasn't hard. There wasn't really anything challenging. And like I said, I can hand the controller to my 6-year-old and he can navigate most of the game on his own, right? So
to be fair, you could probably do that with Final Fantasy 12 as well, since that had all the macro shit in it.
Well, yeah, and that kind of helps too, because like I've got it set so that my party just heals, so he just runs around, smashes stuff. Everybody else worries about keeping him alive, and away he goes, right?
That's pretty cool.
I'm telling you, kid hack. I'll make it to level 99. It'll take forever, but
well, that's what I did in Smash Brothers, right? I throw 99 stock. Here, go. Use Pikachu.
Video games.
Video games.
So Scalebound got resurrected as a Switch exclusive now.
That's so ridiculous to me. How, like,
Do you know
I
what?
don't know, Nintendo just seems to be like wanting to save them every single time or something. Is that what's happening? Like, are they trying to buy them out? Like, because Bayonetta and this, like, I don't understand.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it hasn't been like more than a year since anyone's heard of that, and Xbox or Microsoft just canned it, and it didn't seem that compelling to begin with. So I don't know. Don't know. I'd have to hear more information. Like that's the other thing too. Like they got to give out a little more information for people to even give a shit about it. I think at this point because most people are going to be leery of buying into that without any other like. Did the developers did they start over? Like what happened to it? Right? Like I wouldn't. I'm not going to touch that unless
I'm sure they have the
reviews.
Right? Like they got to have some sort of assets from there, and I'm sure.
Right.
I'm sure Nintendo will give them some sort of guidance on it because they don't want to just like have this be a flop and stuff on their Switch. So, well, I have some hope because Nintendo usually tries to be there and give people some sort of leg up when it comes down to this. Whenever they take on a property that didn't have like its legs under it,
That's true.
Hey, another game on the Switch, man.
There's like what 1,800 games in the Switch at this point now, or something. Someone counted.
I don't know. They had that whole Nintendo Direct last week too, right? So that was the other thing. So
We didn't talk about that on the show.
no, that happened last week
Oh.
because the Nintendo we had Tetris 99 coming out
Right.
too.
Tetris 99, Silk Song, sequel to Hollow Knight, Damon X Machina demo, which some people are iffy on, but seems cool.
Yeah, but what's amazing is that they got Amuro and Char's voice actors to be the characters in there for the Japanese version. So a lot of
looks cool.
End up buying that.
And it's apparently a prototype beta. It's not even like they called it prototype beta, so who knows? Like, it seemed like they're asking for feedback from people playing the demo. Like, they're actually going to take feedback for that one to see.
I have no doubt that will sell well with the community in Japan because, like, you got Shoji Kawamori doing all the mechanical designs, and he's the guy that did all the Armored Core, Macross, Plus.
Looks good for sure.
All those designs. So you got that. You got all the pedigree from the people that are working on the actual game itself, and then you've got the voice acting for it, and that's gonna just bring everybody into the game that's in that mech community from Japan. Here, who knows?
Yeah, well, they could do Japanese voices, and that would be fine. Other big announcement was Mario Maker 2. Slopes. They added slopes. It was a big deal. So we'll see about that. I don't own any the other one, but I think people who are into it seem to be pretty excited for it. So it opens up a lot more possibility space for Mario Maker.
Do you use any like level editor stuff in any other game though?
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Smash Brothers. We were just talking about that. I loved level editor stuff in Smash.
Yeah. So, I bought the first Mario Maker and it didn't it's cute, it's kind of fun, but it's just I didn't play very much.
You think if your kid were interested in it, it would be a neat toy?
I don't think she would be.
No. Yeah, I'm not sure about it either.
Houses, that was the other thing.
It looks terrible.
Looks terrible.
I went from
a bit of Princess Maker in it though. That was kind of interesting.
What's that?
There's like a bit of Princess Maker in it, like where you're like have to do classes to level up your character and stuff.
It looks terrible. It went from like instant buy, I'm really excited about this, to I'm not even gonna pay this any attention.
It seems a little bloated. Like there's so many different systems and mechanics in it that I feel like
for me it's just that I can't do a school setting thing.
Yeah, of course.
Like I'm not interested in fucking high school. It's so boring.
Not for you anymore, dude.
No, and that's
high school market.
And that's fine. It's just hard to see something like Fire Emblem, which I don't know. It's political intrigue, right? Like this is a strategy game and not a high school simulator. And it's fine that things have changed, but it's also fine that I don't buy it anymore.
Blame Persona.
Astral Chain.
That looks interesting. It could be cool. Platinum, right? Looks pretty nuts. Kind of Bayonetta-ish with mech suits. That's all I got from it.
I'm not totally sold yet.
Couldn't glean any mechanics from it. I like the voice acting. Some of the stuff was pretty cheesy and goofy, which I kind of like. Which I would expect from like a game like God Hand or something like that, and like that kind of stuff. So
I felt pretty underwhelmed by the direct for sure.
Oh, and Link's Awakening. That wasn't high. I thought that would have been big for you.
No.
I like Link's Awakening back in the day for sure, but
I like the game too. It's just I don't have any interest in this. I played it already.
Yeah, exactly. It seems fairly 1-to-1 from what I heard.
Yeah. And it's the same thing. Like it's awesome for people who are excited about it. It's just it's not for me.
Yeah. It's a good idea for sure. A lot of people are super pumped, but oh well. And no Smash Bros. Info. Because
they don't need to. I mean, they can just they'll release the characters when they happen and everything.
I want a stage editor. Give it to me.
That's your thing now.
No, because we I don't know, Keen, if you knew, like me and Chris, when we lived in the same building, we sat there and designed stages. or I did, and we played them, and we had a lot of fun with doing that, and we made a good, I don't know, 20, 30 levels, and we would run through them whenever we would like 1v1 instead of playing on like what now we just play on Final Destination flat mode. Like I like playing on kind of simple-ish maps that have a gimmick that doesn't have a lot of fancy stuff in it. Like, and yeah, we made a bunch of those maps, and they're really hilarious.
Wait, which one was that in?
That was in, what one was that, Chris? Was that the
Brawl?
It was in Brawl, yeah.
Brawl, okay.
Which I think had the best map editor. I think the Wii U one wasn't as good.
Was there a Wii U one?
Yeah, didn't they change it and it was crappier?
I don't remember.
Anyway, yeah, they got to bring it back. It will not be the true ultimate unless they add a stage editor. So,
oh, I think the guy needs rest.
he doesn't need to do that. Just copy the old one.
Just copy. Yeah, okay, that'll make it work well.
Yeah.
That's not how it works, Tim.
That is, in my mind, it's how it works.
Yeah, everything can be fixed real simply. That's how it works.
No, they'll want to add a bunch of other mechanics.
The guy who only programs from video game programming is telling us how easy it is.
I learned how to do a little bit of
scripting, man.
Yeah, it's true, scripting.
Whole difference.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're tapped out.
Are we? Yeah, it's a holiday.
I was going to ask you guys if any of you are going to play Catherine Full Body when it comes out.
I've already played.
I not after that news this last week.
That turned me off too.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I was wondering if anybody had read further into that, or if this was not really the right group for that talk. I don't know.
No, I mean, like it's a discussion I don't feel like I am particularly good to handle, but
Sure.
I'll trust what other people who are in that community have said. And I don't really like what I've heard from it. I don't feel like I want to like really support it. To give everybody context, there's a character in the game that is trans, and there's a certain timeline where one of the Catherines is gonna. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to like. This is spoiler. This could be spoiler territory.
Nobody gives a shit.
Whatever. So one of the things is that they're supposed to make the ideal world for everybody and make everybody's wish come true. And one of those endings, that trans character goes back to being whatever they were in the beginning, and that person is happy as that. So basically they're satisfied with what they were born as, which is a real slap in the face of trans people, because it's basically saying that they're a mistake or their way of thinking is wrong and all of that stuff. And it's just a whole match lighting powder keg sort of thing. So
well, isn't that dev known for that? Director's known for that kind of stuff, right?
And that's what I was going to say. But how is that any different from anything you see in Persona? Like Japan's not exactly the bastion of. I'm surprised by how much people are talking about it and say how egregious it is when this is not a surprise though. Japan's fucking always like this.
Yeah, it's not new.
That's part that I don't get. Just it's terrible, but yeah, for sure.
Well, I agree. I think it's never been the most tolerant society and stuff, and I know they're trying to push things forward there and modernize it, but I mean, it's not the majority view of thinking. I mean, it's hard enough in the U.S. when there's a huge base, but I'm not saying that we should accept it or whatever, but it shouldn't be so surprising. But I think where the outrage comes from is there seems to be also like some part of the community that has always felt that, oh, at least we're being represented in some way in these games.
Sure. Okay.
They feel that part is now that this is coming out more to the forefront, and this is a different ending or additional ending, that this is a real slap in the face.
Yeah, sure.
Because they're like, oh, we were represented, that was good, and then no, you're not represented in the way that you probably want to be represented. That's bad. So
I think it's fair to preface it with, I'm not qualified to talk about it either, but I'm surprised to hear you say that people generally said like, oh, at least it's some representation. Like if it's like poor representation or if it's offensive, then like that's good enough that at least it's some representation.
The in the beginning, and I would say like back when Catherine first came out and this character was in there, like this ending wasn't in there. So that's how they could have put it forth in that way. So you know what I mean? Like they didn't have that feeling that like that was the message. And then now it's being edited or added on to have this clearer message, and they don't like it. So it's difficult because once again, I'm not part of the community, but if they feel that, if that community feels that way, they have my support behind them, because I don't feel anybody should be made to feel that way.
Agreed.
So Jackie, you're not going to buy Persona 6?
I wouldn't say that. Like for me, it's okay.
So you're not that upset by it?
Well, I don't know that I'm upset about it. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things where it doesn't. I don't know. I'm gonna tread lightly here. So, the community is close to me, having been raised by somebody in the community, and I like to put those goggles on every time I think about or I see one of these situations where I'm like, okay, what would mom have thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, I find it a little confusing because it seems to be one or a handful of people's interpretations of what was there, and I'm not seeing it myself, and I'm not seeing it localized, I'm not seeing it translated. So a lot can change, or a lot could have been misinterpreted, or they could be absolutely bang on, because let's face it, they're not the most tolerant team that have ever done any of this video game stuff. Because I mean, even if you think about it, like, I don't know, how far did you guys get in Persona 5?
I did not.
Did anyone play it other than
I made it to some space thing.
I watched the anime, so I'm pretty caught up on at least one of the endings, I guess.
He's pretty well versed in Persona 5.
No, I mean, like, I watched the anime, and it's pretty much the same thing.
So Persona 5 could have been a lot more inclusive. It had the makings of something that could have been, but it fell into the same tropey nonsense that they all do, where whenever there's anything remotely gay, it's almost presented as a joke. Do you know what I mean? Like, trying to remember what your buddy's name was in that game. I can't even remember. Like the protagonist.
Is it Yosuke?
Yeah, that's right. I think I was reading about that too.
Yeah. So like whenever he was very, standoffish almost, or whenever there was these two gay guys that showed up, they were always hitting on him, and it was always played off as a joke, or that they were creepy gross dudes or whatever, which is disappointing, right? Especially when based on kind
but
of
again, not a surprise given Japan,
and that's just it, right? So then people bring up Persona 4. Well, then there was the girl who was dressing up like a guy, Naoto. And, that was something. Well, no, it wasn't, because her whole argument was that she couldn't be herself because women aren't respected. And it didn't really change. Like, she stayed that way throughout the game anyway. So.
And the bully guy, the guy with the silver hair, he was actually.
Yeah,
he was actually kind of that way because he was like confused because he had feelings for Naoto, sort of thing.
Because he thought she was a guy, but then she was a girl, so it was fine. Do you know what I mean? And that was
like, oh, thank God, I'm not gay after all.
Exactly. And that was sloppy for a different reason. So it's one of those things where I don't necessarily approve or agree with that messaging if that's how it's made people feel. However, at this stage of the game, I don't know for sure if that interpretation was correct, because there was, like, I don't know how far into it that you guys read. Because it's the character Erica that we're talking about. pre-transition was Eric, and there was kind of a passing comment of like, oh, one of the characters there said that he wishes he could find a girl like Catherine. She said, and Eric pre-transition said, oh, there's one right in front of you. So it's almost alluding to, you know, maybe that is pre-transition. It's not totally dismissing. It's sloppy. It could have been done better, but I don't know if I agree with the vitriol that it's getting based on one person's interpretation or two people's interpretations of what actually was said. But I wouldn't be surprised either way. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
so at the end of the day, it sounds like you're probably going to have to go to the creator to find out what was intended.
But you can also say, based on the creator, you don't need to because you know what it is, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I keep coming back to like knowing how video games and knowing how Japan handles this stuff. Like it can't be a surprise to anybody.
Nope, not at all.
Like this is I get, yes, okay, it's outrage because it's awful, but how is this different from any other video game that's ever come out of Japan?
Or any of the other kinds of objectification and other things. But that's also, I don't know. I think
I mean, hard gay is a celebrity in Japan.
It's always weird when you have two cultures clashing in this way, because there's that culture and where it's at in its timeline as far as how progressive it is, and then there's other countries and their culture and like being where they are in their thought process and all of this. Like it's gonna be, there's gonna be this kind of grindy aspect of it where between the two. And the funny thing is too, like if you hear about it, like Atlas USA is always very aware about all this stuff because they're always in the community, always talking about it. And they've sent tons of notes to Japan and they're just ignored. But that's also not surprising because that's how a lot of Japanese companies are. They will completely ignore their US division because US division, all that they are to them is a translation division, and that's all that they do. So why do they need to cater to that particular office? Like it doesn't make any sense, right, to them.
So it'll be interesting to see if that changes when it's localized, though. I would be curious. Like I don't know, it's not a game that I was interested in playing it. I don't know if this will keep me from playing it, but it's one where like it wasn't, I don't think it was going to be a day one purchase because I've already played the game 100 times. So I'm curious to see if that gets fixed when it gets localized, if that's something that does get responded to, because even in the other game, like the original one, they handled it with a bit more care than this, it seems, which is why I'm a little confused. Because there was like a throwaway line where Erica wanted to be a female wrestler and Vincent was like, no, that's never going to happen. But in one of the endings, she does actually become a female wrestler, right? Like where they're like, nope, see, everything works out for this person. It's all okay. They can be who they want to be, right? And then all of a sudden for them to kind of hit the brakes and go backwards seems strange to me, especially given the amount of time that's passed between then and now. But that's just me.
Yeah, I wonder how much leeway the translation team has in Atlas US, right?
Yeah, but it's one of those things where maybe it just will hit differently too, right? Like I said, it's hard to say because this is you're getting the account of someone who has interpreted it this way, and maybe that's not what happened or not happened that way. I don't know. For me, I don't speak the language. I can't. I've watched some of the videos, but it's I'm interested to see how this will hit, because when it comes out, people might have forgotten and everybody doesn't care anymore too, right? Like everybody's mad now, but in a year or 6 months or whenever this comes out and the American PR team gets it, who knows? Maybe it'll change. Maybe no one will care anymore, because that's the culture we live in where everyone only cares for a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I said, like, it's always like, I think that's interesting, like what Chris is saying, and I think that's if you've been plugged into the overall culture in Japan.
Oh yeah.
if it's not even just anime, like you watch their dramas, you watch all like you kind of understand where that entire culture is. None of this should shock you in any way.
No,
like,
not at all. not even a little bit.
Like, it's a country where you can still buy what our numbers are for underage girls. Like, you can still buy photo books for them that are erotic and stuff in their bookstores and whatever. Like, that stuff is still there. So, like, none of this stuff should shock you,
surprise anyone. No.
surprise you. Like, people, and maybe this is, I think, well, and I don't want to put words in other people's mouths, but the thing that I think about sometimes is like, people put on blinders because they are in love with the aesthetic, but are not in tune with the message of the culture.
Yep.
And so they ignore a lot of this stuff until suddenly the crows come roosting home, and like, it's whatever that saying is, the roosters come
home to roost.
The roosters come crowing home.
Oh, Keenan.
There's the title of the show.
I found it for you, Tim.
There you go.
But yeah, like that's what ends up happening. Like, I don't know. Like, this stuff should not shock you,
No,
especially the stuff. Like, I said to somebody before, like, if you could hear what they say on Japanese television, like a panelist show where you have like 4 people sitting around discussing news topics, okay, in Japan, and listen to what they said in those, it is some really backwards, disgusting stuff that you hear in there. Like, as bad as you might hear on like an American panelist, like political panelist show in America, it's really bad in Japan sometimes. And they're talking about stuff that we've gone past it because they are not at that stage yet in their culture to be as accepting on some of those things.
And I think that's the key to what I feel is the idea of just being at a different point, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you think about other countries, and I'm not giving Japan a pass because I hate them as much as everybody else does. But like, just if you think about other countries that are even worse off than Japan is, right? Like, where's the outrage for that stuff? Where's the outrage for, like, I don't know. I'm gonna assume that maybe it's not fair, but maybe I'm gonna assume that Bollywood is not great with it either. Where's the outrage for this, right? And maybe it is, maybe it's whatever. Don't play the game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's as easy as that. Like, I think that, not that Japan gets a pass for it, but you can't really be surprised because this is the way it's always been, right?
Well, yeah. And I mean, even back, in last September, August-ish, when I was on, you guys were talking about Dragon Quest because I was excited about it, and you guys were like, oh, remember that I think it was the composer, that someone involved said some pretty horrible stuff, and it kind of soured everybody. But 3 of the 4 of us bought it anyway, right?
Well,
so,
and I don't know, do you guys have plans to get the Switch one with the orchestrated soundtrack now that it's available?
Yep. Sure do.
I may do the same. And like, yeah, it sucks, but I mean, that's where I don't know. This is a whole different argument about separating. Like,
no, that's what I mean by, like, we're all mad about it right now, but are we going to be mad about it in 6 months when the game comes out, or will we moved on to the next thing to be mad about? And I'm not giving them a pass because, like, that's not cool if that is exactly how it was, but at the same time, it's not surprising at all. It's disappointing, but it's not surprising.
I'm gonna say the only last thing is, if you feel that way, I'm definitely not saying that your voice shouldn't be heard.
Nope,
like, you definitely should protest it. You should say exactly what you're saying. You should continue to pressure Atlas about it in every which way possible, and you should continue to make people aware about it, because some people might not be aware of this kind of thing coming out of Japan because they are not as in tune with the culture and have only been casually involved in it. But yeah, I think that should still continue happening. So,
well, and I know someone who works on the North American PR team, like, that does their social media campaigns, and I'm going to ask them when I see them what they're experiencing with that, because I'm curious what the other side of it is too, right? So I'll keep you updated if they tell me anything.
Cool.
Or have them on the podcast to tell all 12 of our viewers.
I was gonna say, not gonna happen, bro. Not gonna happen,
But you
bro.
can, if they're worried about like people here listening to the conversation or hearing about what they have to say, just tell them no one listens to this. Don't worry about it.
Not gonna happen, bro.
Oh, that was a good discussion.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, that was a good discussion. We got an episode name. We got everybody hearing up. It's great. We'll get packed on another 20 minutes.
There you go. All right. I think that'll be
All right, guys. Have a good week.
Yeah. Chris, you there?
Yeah. Bye.
Okay.